before you watch this video is going to be obviously quite in depth and everything like that. Have a look down below, because underneath this video itself there's a merch store which sells all my MXDOUT stuff, and if you're interested to keeping us alive, then obviously go and hit me up down there and buy something or whatever, or share the links around and stuff. And also, if you've got any questions, I'll answer them back in the story, because I've liked that new little feature YouTube's doing. It makes it a lot more easier, and rather than me writing that text and anyway, on with the video, and I hope you enjoy it. This is a nice looking case. I like it a lot, but it has its drawbacks. It's heavy and it's premium, so it's all good. Anyway, let's talk about, what is this case? I forgot what it is. A Thermaltake A500 TG. Now TG stands for tempered glass, and this is the A series of Thermaltake's cases, which is all good. Now, if you're not very good at custom cabling, you better get good in this case. And if you ain't strong enough, you better go to the gym, because this weighs a ton. I'm not even joking. The reason it weighs a ton compared to all its other predecessors of cases, this one's quite premium in the steel and aluminium department, as well as glass. It's got glass on that side and glass on that side, and then obviously metal and steel all around the actual chassis. Anyway, it's got locks on the left hand side, it's got a lock on the front, so what you can see on the front or what you can see on the other side. But anyway, let's talk you around this beautiful case, and let's get going. There we go. So on the front of this beautiful case, as you can see, very minimalistic design. It's got the tiny Thermaltake logo there. It's not even embroidered or nothing, just literally so minimalistic, and it's just there in white. And then we've got this gradient look, and it just feels absolutely solid. That goes all the way around, so this is literally bent around the whole frame, and then it chops off up to the top of here, and then carries on to a nice flush sort of design, especially with the glass as well. And on the top, talking about the top, what we've got on the top there, we've got USB Type-C, two USB 3s, we've got two USB 2s, we've got power button, and then we've got LED indicator, we've got microphone jack, got a headphone jack, we've got a reset button. And the reset button feels very tactile and clicky. I just love the whole point, it just feels really nice and elegant. It's got some big hinges on the side, but let's talk about the right side. So this will be the right side, which I want to show you and get involved in. But first off, let's take the plastic off. Ooh. Oh. Ah! Oh, jeez. Electrocuted me. Right, sorry for all your headphones there, mate. Right, so that's that one out the way. Alright, there we go. So we've got this massive flathead screw, but it's a big thumb screw, and you just open it like this, and then you pull from the top, and it opens. Let's get this other plastic bit going off. Whoa! I'm not very good at this, and I keep getting an electric shock. Alright, so we just move this out the way. Alright, okay, we're back in business. So on the side here, as you can see, it's got a very fat trim around here for the bezel of the glass, which is quite nice. So if you've got fingerprints, it doesn't show up straight through the actual glass. Now, can these glass things come off? Yes, they sure can. So we got about 15% tinting on here, and it's just dark enough for obviously it's black inside. And we've got these nice massive hinges here as well. So they've got Phillips screwdrivers there, 2 on each, and it's attached to the glass, so you can put them in and put them out when you don't need them. So I'm just going to move this to the side. And then inside the case, so you can see you can put 1, 2, 3, 4 mechanical drives in there without no problems, or 4 SSDs there. We also do have a graphics card stand, and also you can put your graphics card up against the window. And then we've got these air vents as well for the power supply, and then we've got this lovely cutout so it can show off your logo. So obviously a certain power supply that I've got, it lights up and illuminates. This would be quite good for that if it fits right. Haven't tried it yet. Oh, that popped out. So you've got these big thumb screws here, and normally they're quite easy to get out, or not. And this one's not too bad. Or is it? Come out. Right, there we go. It's coming very... Oh no, it might be, what do you call it actually? Oh no, they're, what do you call it? Little thumb screw hangers. So, okay, I can pull these out. I'm sure I can pull the whole tray out. There we go. That's what we can do. So we can get rid of these trays, or we can just have one of them in, like so. So that's 4 mechanical hard drives, 4 2.5 inch, 4 3.5 inch, or 4 SSDs. And on the back, you got another spot for 2 SSDs, or 2 mechanical drive, or 2 3.5 inch hard drives. Altogether, you got an extra bit where you can have an extra SSD on the back. So let me take this side off, and then I'm going to show you that in 1 second. So hopefully I'll be able to get this one off, because this one don't seem like it wants to come off. Hey, there we go. That's much easier. So we finally got that glass bit off. Had a little bit of trouble, but we got there in the end. Hiya. Alright, anyway, so we've got, where am I? So we took the hard drives out, hard drive cages out, so you can get rid of them. So they got captive thumb screws on the side, and then you've got 4 screws which you can put an SSD on there, so it attaches no problem. And then you've got these little bits there, and these stick inside the mechanical hard drive. So say if you've got a big 3.5 inch, it's the tallest design, you just flex it and then click it in, and it's ready to go. That's what I like about that. This is all metal, and this is the only plastic that I can see other than the fans at the moment. So that's pretty decent. So you've got a decent quality big thumb captive screws as well in the back. And then you've got these rubber grommets that attach to these Phillips screws as well, which stops you from scratching up your drive. So you don't have to have it in one place like here. You can have it here and then screw it in, or you can have it here and screw it in. So you've got, how many holes you've got up there? So there's a centimetre gap between each one. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So, well, actually 10. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Alright, there's 11 actually. I can't even count these days. But yeah, so you can position it in different places. Say that you wanted a drive. I want one here. And I'll screw that down there. And then I wanted one with a little gap here or there. I think you get the picture. You can put it anywhere. So let me pull this out. And then we've got like, how many grommet holes? We've got 5 grommet holes. So we've got 2 underneath here. So you can have a cable pass through and make it look nice if you've got a decent size motherboard. So if you've got ATX size motherboard, it'll be fine here. It's got like the markings on the actual bottom of here already. So it's got ATX, micro ATX and mini ITX. So nothing about extended motherboards to be put on there. And plus I wouldn't really put an extended motherboard in here because it might be just a bit too big and hang us straight over the side itself there. But once you take this off these bays, then you've got this massive gap right here, but it's there for water cooling. And this is pretty sharp, but it's still metal. You can take this off if you ain't obviously lining up your graphics card in a vertical mount, but if you're going to be placing it in the other way, then you won't need this. You can take this out straight away. That's not too bad. You can easily put a 360 rad at the top. This, talking about the top does actually come off. It just pops off normally. There we go. Now, it does, this is metal, there's nothing plastic about it. It's incredibly like premium with the materials. Everything's quite weighty as well. You've got these little air vents here, and it's got a filter for both sides. Alright? And it's nicely machinely cut out with all the holes and the rectangles as well for the actual front of the I/O. And then you've got this massive metal sheet as well, and it's all locked down by screws, and it's got ball heads or ball arrow heads that literally plonk down into these holes. There's 8 of them, and I think that's pretty cool. And one of these, now I know where this comes from. This comes from here, and this fell out somehow. I don't know how it done that. So I've got to click that back into place. There it is, straight back into place. Yeah, let's talk about the actual side now. Now it's getting a little bit lighter. That's pretty cool. On the back, we've got cable management. We've got an SSD with, it looks like another captive thumb screw on the side there. Right, so you can take that off and have an SSD in there. So that means if I put this back, and if I was to have cables coming through the bottom, have them come through underneath and straight into the motherboard as well, so that's pretty good. Then we've got a decent cutout here as well, so your IO retention bracket will be around here, so that's not too bad. Then plenty of grommet holes up here though, but you've got these are kind of flattened over metal, so you don't cut your hands and they're not sharp and stuff. As I said, it's all metal. And then you got these bits, these ain't sharp, they're pretty decent. On the back here, more hard drive bays, as I said before. And let's see what you get in the accessory box, because that's always interesting. Doesn't feel very heavy. Right, okay, so we get a Thermaltake, 3 of them of their new logo badges, and we get some cable ties, we get all the screws. Yeah, so you literally get everything in here as normal, and you get some long screws as well to mount for water cooling, which is always good. Now, do they give us the tool to obviously screw down the motherboard standoffs? No, they don't. They do in some cases though, but not in this one. Well, that's annoying. Sometimes you normally get a tool with it, and that's really quite handy, and they haven't done that. But you've got more screws, so you've got everything to screw on and to do things quite decently. Now you can take this bay out, and it's got a thumb screw, so you can tighten it up with a thumb screw. But it looks like you can take this bay out and you can remove it. I can see one pop rivet there. Yeah, you can move this bay. What am I talking about? Because if you're doing water cooling, then you've got more of a thicker room to obviously put in there as well for a radiator. And Thermaltake do some fat radiators. We've got a decent length of power supply coverage right here with some standoff rails, and it looks like we've got a filter underneath as well, quite a long one. So just your average one, just clean it, wipe it, wash it, done. That goes underneath, and then you've got a few little pass-throughs as well. But if you were going to put a pump and everything in there, especially if it's Thermaltake stuff, you wouldn't have a problem. Now, IO cables are okay, except for these 2. Why don't they just wrap them properly? I don't understand why you just don't. No company seems to do these properly. So you've got USB and audio HD, which you need, and they, like all the other ones, are wrapped. USB 3, but no USB Type C. USB 3.1 even. You got screws that are tapped in 4 places for the actual what are these called? I can't remember what they're called now. Velcro straps. So these are cable management ties. They're not the best quality at all, and they're pretty thin, but I guess they did a job. You do have about 2 finger widths room in the side to do cable management, and some cable holders there as well. So this is a nice feature. I never thought of that before. You can actually hold like your cables like that. More companies should do that. So there's some cable tie points as well, like one there. There are quite a few of them, and then obviously you've got your Velcro cable ties there. So now I'm going to go to the front, and you got this massive flipping hell, that is big. So you got a massive hole. It's about this big underneath, so you could draw cool air underneath. That might be the game that they're going for, because there's no like big fans here or anything like that. But if you think about it, they have got fans behind here, but it looks like it's been choked off, because technically the size of here is about 2 finger widths of ventilation on both sides of the actual case itself. But let me just take this front off, and this is quite easy to pop off, really easy. And these have got the same sort of bullet arrow heads on there as well. It's basically exactly the same as the top. So it's pretty decent quality and stuff like that. I like it a lot. Then we got just some normal Thermaltake fans. That's what it comes with, 3 120mm fans on the front. But I'm nah, I'm still not impressed actually, because technically there's still gonna be, where's the air gonna escape? So where I unplunked it, there's a gap that's blocking it. Technically, I think this case is going to choke a little bit. The way that I'm looking at it right now. Yeah. I think this case is going to choke a little bit with where that, I don't know, it looks well made, but it's I don't know. But I'm enjoying what it looks like aesthetically. It does look very pleasing. It's pretty nice. But there's no point having a nice case if it chokes and makes your stuff hotter. But because it's such a big case, I don't know. There's enough room to pass through and everything. Anyway, it comes with a 120mm fan at the back there. I think that's a 120. Yeah, 120. And then you can slot it up and down. It's got about 2 centimeters of depth, so to slot up and down. It depends on the size of the motherboard. 8 expansion slots on the side, including 2 on the side for vertical mounts, including 10. And I like this as well. This is a good little feature. This is captive screws. Yep, so we've got 4 decent captive fun screws on the back. So everything just seems very metal on here. The only thing that's plastic is the drives, and that's inside. So you attach your power supply in here and you can feed it straight through the back, but there's a lot of room in the underneath the tray actually. So technically you're going to need it if you're going to put loads of mechanical hard drives in there. And at the top as well, you can see that you can put easily a 360, a 240, a 280, a 120 or a 140 there, or a 120 and a 140 at the back, or a 360 or a 280 at the front, or 120 or 140 at the front as well. So you can put all those sides of the fans in there. But what I'm trying to explain to you is that I'm seeing that this is going to be a choked off case, because heat rises and heat needs to go somewhere. And I would have thought, after doing some testing the other day with certain cases, heat just rises straight up. If it has to rumble like inside, to say it's going up and then it's kind of like one bit's going that way, one bit's going that way, so it's going into like where smoke hits it. I've got a smoke machine, I should really use it to demonstrate what I'm talking about. But imagine it going up and then it's like trying to find the way out. That means it's going to take longer to get out, and I would prefer if we had like some sort of ventilation that can go straight out instead of just from the sides, because feeding it from the glass, especially from the graphics card, the CPU, the MOSFETs, the chokes and the phases, especially if you're overclocking, there's going to be a lot of heat. Regardless if you're water cooling, you're going to need to be able to get that heat still away from the CPU and the MOSFETs, because there's nothing breathing on it. Even on a CPU air cooler, there's some sort of way that it extracts a little bit of heat, a certain percentage. But this is going to start to choke. But on the plus side, it's really aesthetically pleasing. But I think we're a little bit late for this design. This design should have been brought 6 months ago. If this was 6 months ago, I think at this price point at £239, it's very expensive. All you lot outside are probably thinking, damn, that is expensive for this case. But if you fit it in person, there's a lot of metal that's going towards this, and there's a lot of thought, but in the style, and maybe a little bit of airflow, but not enough for airflow. Because the way it looks right now, it looks like a shell. And even this case still looks more premium than cheap cases like this now. But there's too much competition at £150 price point for better cases. But from my opinion, I like this. I like the look of this case. I think this case is nice, aesthetically pleasing. But if I'm going to use it to obviously game with and do overclocking with, this is not going to be the case for me, because I feel that it's going to ramp up a little bit of temperature. But the materials that they've used is pretty decent. And another thing as well, there's no RGB on it, which is good, but not good for that price point. It's very expensive. Now, thoughts about this actual case and who is it generally for? Now, if you're a gamer, it's fine to obviously still buy this case regardless of whatever components you're putting in. But the mystery is, if you literally put in like components to do overclocking, and things are going to be hot, like the 9900K, the 8700K, 7700K, all those CPUs run really hot. And then you're using a top end board as well. Obviously you must be using a top end board, because why would you be buying a K SKU to obviously overclock? And you can't overclock on a normal motherboard. And now if you're using it for AMD, sort of same thing, heat issues. Motherboards obviously produce their own heat, so people forget that no matter, they would just think, I'm water cooled my graphics card, it's all on water. So I've water cooled my CPU, I've water cooled my graphics card. Some people will obviously water cool their MOSFETs and stuff like that. But when it comes down to air that needs to escape on certain parts of the motherboard, it's still going to produce heat. Now this place, the heat needs to escape. This case is fairly big, or it looks really big, but inside it just looks like a standard chassis. But it still looks more decent than a very cheap one. Thermaltake have literally gone out their way and used premium materials, so it's going to be a cost. The glass itself is going to be expensive with hatches that lock the sides in and stuff like that, or you can take the actual glass off and then make it easier and accessible to build into this case. To be honest with you, this case would be pretty easy to build in as long as you've got a standard ATX case. But as I'm going to say, mini ITX or micro ATX cases, motherboards, are going to struggle because the way the leads are going to be, it's not going to look right. It's going to be too many cables showing up. But then technically, people need to be more educated because they need to buy the cases that fit their motherboards. So technically, I would just say this is for an ATX motherboard, and it would look pretty decent. It will look nice. It's ready for water cooling. That's what it will be like. Thermaltake are a company that make loads of water cooling stuff. So they've got everything ready for this case. But if you're going to use third parties, then it might be a little bit different. But it depends on how custom you really are. Now technically, the front is not what I thought it would be. It's got a big gap underneath. If I can see. Well, technically, it does have a decent gap. So right underneath here, you can see that it could do a massive intake of air on a radiator on there, no problem. But other than that, it must be just a difference of opinion. Some people think the chimney rotation of like heat, like cool air coming in and circling up and distributing out, depends on how you're doing negative and positive feed on fans. It depends on how you are building in this case. With cases like this, I like it to normally have a mesh grill, fans and mesh grill at the top, and then the exhaust fan at the back. But after looking at some other cases, it just shows that it does struggle depending on what components you're using. Now, if you're using this just like with a normal ATX, well, probably won't actually, because at £229, you're probably going to look at more expensive stuff for it. So there's no point even talking about that. It's all glass, it's there to be shown off. It doesn't have any RGBs. It's very minimalistic, so you can put in just tight RGBs like from a CPU air cooler, or your RAM, or your motherboard, or your graphics card, and you can just use that. If you're using strips, it might look a bit over the top. But other than that, the case is really nice. This is more for people that are interested in their mechanical hard drives. It's more interesting. I don't know, I can't see this as a gaming computer. I can see it as half a gaming computer and half a video editor's computer, because it's very minimalistic. You can use this in the office. It doesn't have all the RGBs that are distracting, and it won't affect like RGBs on your screen to make sure you're messing up your color grade. But if you're gaming, same sort of thing. If you've got too much RGB, it gets in your way and it puts you off when it's blinking, or just don't have them on. It's all down to your own preferences. So this is my review on the A500 TG. Would I recommend this case? It depends. As I say, it depends on your own preferences. If you're someone that's going to be overclocking and stuff like that, and you want good airflow, it's a little bit iffy, because we've got more phases, we've got more EPS connectors on the motherboard. People want to get more out of their computers. It seems to be harder, more of a price to buy things, so you want to get the most out of your CPU, graphics card and motherboard and RAM. So if you're going to overclock, then this case is probably not going to be great for overclocking. You're going to have to look elsewhere in the Thermaltake range, which they have a load of different cases, which I completely agree and think, wow, the cooling solution is excellent. This is just more of a very slick aesthetic. Put a computer in it and you'll get some temperatures, but you'll be able to handle it. Like a CPU like the 9900K can go up to 100 degrees and be okay. It won't blow up. It won't last very long. It would last like probably a year or two, depending on however you're doing things. But do you really want that much CPU heat? No. And that CPU runs with a lot of heat anyway. So if you're going to use like an AMD in here, you're still going to have the same factor, because it's still a CPU and it's still a motherboard that needs to produce heat from the phases, MOSFETs and the chokes, and the graphics card, the memory, and the CPU. So somewhere it's got to go, and the chipset as well. Oh, and NVMe, you need to get rid of NVMe. Anyway, I hope this is in depth enough. If you want to ask me any questions, ask me some questions. Merch store underneath this video if you can afford to buy any of my tops or anything like that after buying this case, because that'll be linked in the description down below. And yeah, subscribe, share, and follow me on all like social media platforms, and also stories. So if you literally ask me a question, and yeah, if you ask me a question, I can answer you back in a story. So that means that I can answer you back in a video. So say that you said, you said there was 4 USBs in there and there's actually 6, and you replied there's 6. I'll be like, this person, whatever, you get a shout and all that. But anyway, enough of me talking and rambling. Roger, and now see you next one. Thanks for watching.